The night shift at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Tom Miller sat at his desk, sipping his third cup of coffee, watching the usual stream of data flow across his screens. After 15 years of monitoring deep space signals, he had grown used to the endless pattern of cosmic background noise. But tonight was different. At exactly 2:47 a.m. Eastern Time, every monitoring system in the facility began lighting up like a Christmas tree. Tom nearly spilled his coffee as he jumped forward in his chair, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Hey, Bill," he shouted to his colleague across the room. "Are you seeing this?" Bill Wheeler, the senior communications expert, was already rushing over. The signal they were receiving was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It wasn't random space noise or the usual pulsar signals. This was clearly artificial and incredibly powerful. "Call the director," Bill said, his voice trembling with excitement. Now, within an hour, the facility was buzzing with activity. Director Martha Ross stood behind Tom's chair, watching as he tried to decode the strange signal pattern. Scientists from different departments crowded around the monitors, their faces illuminated by the blue glow of the screens. "It's not coming from any of our satellites," Tom explained, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "The signal origin is somewhere in the Kuiper Belt, just beyond Neptune's orbit." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. They were receiving their first confirmed alien transmission. But the real surprise came when they finally decoded the message. It wasn't just a random signal or a scientific greeting like the ones humans had sent into space. It was a distress call, and it was specifically asking for human help. The message was simple and clear. To the inhabitants of Earth, "We are a refugee fleet of 27 ships carrying 50,000 souls. Our primary and secondary propulsion systems have failed. We require immediate assistance. We have chosen to contact Earth specifically because your technology may be our only hope. Please respond." Director Ross read the translated message 3 times before speaking. "Why us? There must be dozens of more advanced civilizations out there." The answer came in the second transmission, received just minutes later. "Your species' use of chemical propulsion, while considered primitive by galactic standards, may be the only technology that can save us. The phenomenon that disabled our ships does not affect simpler mechanical systems. We need your help before our life support systems fail." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was involved. The United Nations called an emergency session. Social media exploded with theories and discussions. Humanity had just gone from wondering if they were alone in the universe to being called upon to save an advanced alien civilization. In Washington, D.C., the president addressed the nation. "Today, we face an unprecedented situation. An alien civilization has reached out to us, not to conquer or to teach, but to ask for our help. They have chosen Earth not despite our technological limitations, but because of them. This is humanity's moment to show the galaxy what we're truly capable of." Teams of scientists and engineers from around the world began working around the clock. The aliens sent detailed information about their ships and their situation. They were stranded in a region of space affected by an unknown phenomenon that disabled their advanced energy systems. Their massive ships, each the size of a small city, were drifting helplessly in the cold darkness of the outer solar system. The clock was ticking. According to the aliens' calculations, they had less than 3 months before their life support systems would fail completely. Humanity would have to mount the largest space rescue mission in history, using technology that most of the galaxy considered obsolete. But as teams of engineers and scientists began planning the rescue mission, a sense of pride swept through the human race. Their primitive technology, the very thing that had made them seem backward to the rest of the galaxy, might just prove to be the key to saving thousands of alien lives. The greatest space rescue mission in human history was about to begin, and it would all start with technology that was considered outdated by everyone except the humans who had perfected it. The main conference room at Houston Space Center was packed with the brightest minds from 20 different countries. Engineers, physicists, and rocket scientists sat shoulder to shoulder, their attention focused on the holographic display in the center of the room. The display showed detailed schematics of the alien vessels, transmitted by the stranded fleet. Mike Rogers, the lead engineer from NASA, stood up and pointed at the massive engine sections of the alien ships. Their propulsion system is like nothing we've ever seen before. They use some kind of controlled microfusion reaction, contained within quantum fields. It's at least 1,000 years ahead of anything we have. And that's exactly why it doesn't work anymore, added Dr. Lisa Brown, her eyes bright with understanding. She was the head of propulsion research at ESA, and she had been studying the data from the alien fleet for the past week. The phenomenon they encountered out there, it's like a cloud of exotic particles. These particles completely disrupt any advanced energy fields. The room buzzed with discussion. On the main screen, they could see the real-time images of the alien fleet, 27 massive ships floating helplessly in the darkness of space. Each ship was nearly 2 miles long, their sleek silver hulls now powerless and dark. But our rockets, Mike continued, pulling up images of Earth's largest space vehicles, use simple chemical reactions. Liquid oxygen and hydrogen. Basic physics. There's nothing for those particles to disrupt. The aliens thought our technology was primitive, Lisa said with a slight smile, but sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. The team's plan was ambitious but straightforward. They would send a fleet of modified space tugs, each carrying massive tanks of rocket fuel. These tugs would attach to the alien vessels and literally push them out of the danger zone using good old-fashioned chemical rockets. But there was a problem. The alien ships are huge, Mike explained, showing a size comparison. Our largest space tug looks like a toy next to them. We'll need to develop something much bigger, and we need to do it fast. That's when Jack Thompson, an older engineer who had worked on oil rigs before joining NASA, spoke up. "What if we don't build bigger rockets?" he said, walking to the front of the room. "What if we use a lot of smaller ones instead?" He pulled up a new diagram on the screen. In deep-sea operations, when we need to move something massive, we don't use one big tugboat. We use several smaller ones working together. It's safer, more flexible, and we can distribute the force more evenly. The room fell silent as everyone considered the idea. It was so simple, yet so brilliant. "We could modify existing space tugs," Lisa said, growing excited. "Add connection points, strengthen the frames. Instead of trying to build new super rockets from scratch, we use what we already have." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Space agencies and private companies around the world worked together, modifying their vehicles for the rescue mission. Regular space tugs were reinforced and equipped with special attachment mechanisms designed to connect with the alien ship's hull without damaging their delicate structures. The aliens, watching Earth's preparation through their long-range sensors, were both confused and impressed. Instead of seeing the development of massive new ships or advanced technology, they watched as humans modified and improved their existing primitive vehicles with remarkable speed and efficiency. "Your solution is unexpected," the alien commander transmitted. "But we are beginning to understand why you were chosen for this task. Your species has a unique way of approaching problems." The message made the engineers smile. While other civilizations might have tried to develop new complex solutions, humanity was sticking to what they knew best: simple, reliable, and tested technology. As the first modified space tugs were ready for launch, a sense of pride filled the launch control room. Earth's outdated chemical rockets were about to prove their worth to the galaxy. "Sometimes," Jack said, watching the first rescue ships being fueled on the launch pad, "the oldest tools are the best tools. We've been using rocket fuel to push things through space for over a century. We've gotten pretty good at it." The rescue mission was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy that there was nothing primitive about experience, ingenuity, and well-proven technology. Cape Canaveral buzzed with more activity than it had seen since the first moon landing. Dozens of modified space tugs lined the launch pads, their white hulls gleaming in the Florida sun. Each one had been retrofitted with extra fuel tanks and special connecting clamps designed to lock onto the alien ships. Captain John Reed stood at the observation deck, watching the final preparations. At 45 years old, with 20 years of space tug piloting experience, he had been chosen to lead the rescue mission. His weathered face showed both excitement and concern as he studied the launch preparations below. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" asked Mary Wilson, walking up beside him. She was the mission's chief engineer, a former submarine designer who understood better than most how to work in hostile environments. 20 space tugs, all launching within 48 hours. "We've never tried anything like this before." John nodded, his eyes still on the rockets below. "And we'll only get one shot at this. Those aliens have less than 2 months of life support left." The rescue fleet was the result of a massive global effort. Russian heavy rockets had been combined with American space tug technology. Chinese precision instruments worked alongside European control systems. Every spacefaring nation had contributed something to the mission. In the Mission Control Center, hundreds of technicians ran through final checks. The room was divided into sections, each monitoring different aspects of the mission. One wall displayed real-time images of the stranded alien fleet, their massive ships dark against the stars. "Team meeting in 5 minutes," announced the intercom. The core team gathered in the briefing room. Besides John and Mary, there was Tom Parker, the navigation specialist who had spent years plotting courses for deep space missions. Peter Smith, the life support expert, brought years of experience keeping astronauts alive in space, and Dr. Linda Cooper, the physicist who best understood the particle cloud that had stranded the alien fleet. "Let's go over the plan one more time," John said, activating the holographic display in the center of the room. "We launch in waves of 5 ships each. Once we reach the alien fleet, we'll split into 4 groups of 5 tugs each." Mary stepped forward, pointing at the display. "Each group will handle 1 alien ship at a time. The tugs will attach to these reinforced points we identify from their schematics. Then, working together, we'll push them clear of the particle cloud. The trick," Tom added, "will be keeping all the tugs perfectly synchronized. If one pushes harder than the others, we could tear the alien ships apart." "What about the particle cloud?" Peter asked, looking at Linda. Linda pulled up her latest data. "It's still expanding, but slowly. We've mapped its boundaries. As long as we keep our ship's electronics simple and rely on mechanical systems where possible, we should be fine." The meeting continued for another hour, going over every detail, every possible problem, every backup plan. They couldn't afford any mistakes. 50,000 alien lives depended on their success. Later that evening, John stood on the launch pad, looking up at his ship, Rescue 1. The space tug had been his home for countless missions, but never one this important. Engineers had replaced its advanced computer systems with simpler, more reliable ones. Extra fuel tanks hung from its sides like giant silver balloons. "She's ready," Mary said, walking up beside him. She patted the ship's hull. "They all are. The final checks are complete." John smiled. "You know, when I started flying these tugs, everyone said they were outdated. That robot ships would replace them. That chemical rockets were yesterday's technology. And now they're our best hope of saving an advanced alien civilization," Mary finished. "Funny how things work out." The next morning, as the sun rose over Cape Canaveral, the countdown began. Launch control was packed with officials from every space agency on Earth. The world watched through countless live streams as the first wave of rescue ships prepared for launch. "Rescue Fleet, this is Control," came the voice over the radio. "You are go for launch sequence." John settled into his pilot's seat, running through the pre-launch checklist one final time. Around him, 19 other crews did the same. They were about to attempt the biggest rescue mission in human history, using technology that most of the galaxy considered obsolete. "Control, Rescue One," John responded. "We're ready to show the galaxy what humanity's primitive technology can do." After 3 weeks of travel, the human rescue fleet finally reached the stranded alien ships. The sight took everyone's breath away. Even through the small viewport of Rescue One, Captain John Reed could see just how massive the alien vessels were. Each one dwarfed Earth's largest ships, their silver hulls stretching for miles, decorated with elegant curves that seemed to defy engineering. "My God," Mary whispered from her engineer station. "They're like floating cities." The alien ships hung motionless in space, their once bright running lights now dark. Only a few emergency beacons still blinked, powered by basic backup systems that the particle cloud couldn't affect. "Rescue One to all ships," John broadcast. "Take up your assigned positions, but keep your distance for now. Let's not spook our new friends." Through the front viewport, John could see the other rescue ships spreading out in a careful formation around the alien fleet. Their bulky shapes, covered with extra fuel tanks and mechanical grappling arms, looked crude compared to the sleek alien vessels. A light flashed on the communication panel. "Captain," Tom called from his station, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien command ship." The main screen lit up, and for the first time, humanity saw what their new allies looked like. The alien commander had blue-tinted skin and large, expressive eyes. Despite the obvious differences, there was something surprisingly familiar about their face. "I am Commander Val of the Third Fleet," the alien said, their words automatically translated by the simple computer system they'd given Earth. "We appreciate your response to our distress call." John straightened in his chair. "Commander Val, I'm Captain John Reed of the Earth Rescue Fleet. We're here to help." The alien commander studied them through the video link, their large eyes blinking slowly. "Your ships are smaller than we expected. But there are more of them," Mary added quickly. "We'll use multiple tugs working together to move each of your vessels." Val's expression showed what might have been concern. "You intend to move our ships with chemical rockets. The thrust calculations must be precise. Even a small error could damage our hull structure." "We understand, Commander," John replied calmly. "On Earth, we've been moving delicate cargo in space for over a century. We may not have quantum drives, but we know what we're doing." To demonstrate, John ordered one of the rescue tugs to perform a close approach to the nearest alien ship. The human vessel moved with surprising grace, its chemical thrusters making tiny adjustments as it matched position with the massive alien craft. The alien bridge crew watched in silence. Their own ships, for all their advanced technology, had never needed such precise maneuvering. Their quantum drives simply moved them from point to point with computer-controlled precision. "Interesting," Val said finally. "Your control systems are impressively basic, yet effective." Mary couldn't help but smile. "Sometimes basic is better, Commander. Your quantum drives are amazing, but right now, they're useless in this particle cloud. Our chemical rockets might be old technology, but they work." The next few hours were spent planning the rescue operation in detail. The aliens shared their exact hull specifications, while the human crew explained their towing procedures. Despite the language barrier and technological differences, both sides found common ground in their shared engineering knowledge. "We'll start with the smallest ship in your fleet," John explained, pointing to the display. 5 of our tugs will attach here, here, and here. Once we confirm the connection is stable, we'll begin pushing you clear of the particle cloud." Commander Val studied the plan. "Your species continues to surprise us, Captain Reed. When we first scanned your planet, we saw your chemical rockets and assumed you were centuries behind galactic standards. We never considered that such simple technology might have advantages." "Simple doesn't mean primitive, Commander," John replied. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." As the rescue crews prepared for their first attempt, John looked out at the massive alien ships. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization hadn't gone the way anyone expected. Instead of humanity being the ones asking for help, they were the ones providing it. "Ready to make history?" he asked his crew. Mary grinned at her engineering station. "Let's show the galaxy what Earth's primitive technology can do." The first attempt to move an alien ship didn't go as planned. The 5 human rescue tugs had successfully attached to the smallest alien vessel, but something wasn't right. "The hull is flexing too much," Mary shouted from her engineering station aboard Rescue 1. "We need to stop." Captain John Reed immediately ordered all tugs to cut their engines. Through the viewport, he could see the alien ship's surface rippling like water where the human vessels had tried to push. Even their gentlest thrust was too concentrated for the alien hull material. "Commander Val," John called over the communication link, "we have a problem. Your ship's hulls are more delicate than we thought." The alien commander's face appeared on the screen, showing what looked like worry. "Our vessels were not designed to be pushed or pulled. The hull material absorbs and redirects energy from our quantum drives, but with physical force." Val's voice trailed off. In the emergency meeting that followed, engineers from both species shared their concerns. The alien ships, for all their advanced technology, were like delicate glass sculptures. The human tugs, designed to push solid metal satellites and space stations, were too rough. That's when Peter Smith, the life support expert, had an idea. "What about deep-sea oil platforms?" Everyone turned to look at him. "Think about it," Peter continued, pulling up some diagrams on the main screen. "Oil platforms have to deal with enormous pressures, but they also have to protect delicate equipment. They use special pressure distribution systems." Mary's eyes lit up with understanding. "Distributed force absorption. Instead of pushing directly, we could create a web of small contact points, each one spreading out the force." The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. The human rescue fleet used their 3D printers to manufacture hundreds of special padding devices based on deep-sea technology. Each pad would spread the force of the tugs across a wider area of the alien hull. "It's like pushing on a balloon," Mary explained to Commander Val. "If you push with one finger, it might pop. But if you use your whole hand, the force is spread out and the balloon stays safe." The aliens watched with growing interest as the humans modified their equipment. They had never seen such rapid adaptation to a problem. Their own engineering usually involved complex computer simulations and lengthy planning sessions. "Your species has an unusual way of solving problems," Val observed. "You use physical analogies from your planet's environments." John smiled. "We learn from everything around us, Commander. Space might be our newest frontier, but we've been dealing with similar challenges on Earth for centuries." The modified rescue attempt began 18 hours later. This time, each tug was equipped with multiple pressure distribution pads, creating a web of gentle contact points across the alien ship's hull. "All tugs, power up to 5% thrust," John ordered. "Nice and easy." Everyone held their breath as the engines fired. On the monitoring screens, they could see the force distribution readings. Instead of concentrated points of pressure, the force now spread out like ripples on a pond. "Hull stress within acceptable limits," reported the alien engineer. "The distribution system is working." Slowly, carefully, the 5 human tugs began to push. The alien vessel, nearly 2 miles long, started to move. It was like watching a ballet in space, the small human ships working in perfect coordination to guide their massive partner. "Increasing thrust to 10%, John announced. "All ships maintain relative positions." The rescue fleet had done it. They had found a way to move the alien ships without damaging them. It wasn't with advanced technology or complex solutions, but with lessons learned from Earth's oceans. Commander Val's voice carried a new tone of respect. "Captain Reed, your solution is elegantly simple. We would have never considered adapting underwater technology for space use." "Sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected places," John replied. "Now we know it works. We can start moving the rest of your fleet. We'll have you clear of this particle cloud in no time." As the first alien ship continued its slow but steady progress, Mary looked at the readings from the pressure distribution system. "You know what's funny?" she said. "We're using technology designed to protect equipment from deep-sea pressure to help spaceships that can cross galaxies." John nodded. "Just goes to show. Good engineering is good engineering, no matter where you are in the universe." The rescue operation had been going smoothly for 3 days. 6 alien ships had already been moved to safety, and work was underway on the 7th. But that's when everything changed. "Captain Reed." Tom's voice was urgent at the sensor station. "The particle cloud. It's expanding rapidly." John rushed to look at the sensor display. The mysterious cloud that had disabled the alien fleet was growing at an alarming rate, its edges pushing outward like an incoming storm. "How long until it reaches us?" John asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. "At current speed, less than 6 hours," Tom replied. "And it's accelerating." Commander Val's face appeared on the main screen, showing clear signs of distress. "Captain, our calculations show the cloud will envelop our entire fleet before you can move all our ships to safety. Not even your chemical rockets will be able to outrun it." The situation was dire. They had 21 alien ships still to move, each requiring careful handling with the pressure distribution system. At their current rate, it would take at least 4 days to move them all. "We need a new plan," Mary said, her mind racing. "We can't move them one at a time anymore." John stared at the tactical display, showing all the ships, both human and alien, spread out across space. Then he had an idea. A crazy, impossible idea. "What if we move them all at once?" he said. The room fell silent. "All at once?" Mary asked. "That's impossible. We don't have enough tugs tow." She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as she realized what John was thinking. "A chain," John said, pointing to the display. "We connect all the alien ships together using their own docking systems. Then we put every human tug we have at the front. One massive pull instead of lots of small pushes." Commander Val's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Connect our entire fleet. It's never been done. The structural stress would be enormous." "But possible," Mary interrupted, running quick calculations. "The docking systems are meant to handle large ships, if we distribute the force properly using our pressure pads." John turned to the alien commander. "It's risky, but it's our only chance. We have 20 rescue tugs. If we link them all together at the front of your fleet, we might generate enough thrust to move everyone to safety." Val consulted with their engineers, their voices rapid in their alien language. Finally, the commander turned back to the screen. "We agree. We have no choice. But Captain, if the chain breaks during acceleration..." "It won't," John said with more confidence than he felt. "Humanity's been linking ships together since we first built boats. We know how to make this work." The next 5 hours were the most intense of John's career. The alien ships began connecting to each other, forming a chain nearly 50 miles long. Each connection point was reinforced with human pressure distribution pads, spreading the force across the hulls. All 20 human rescue tugs gathered at the front of the chain, linking together with heavy-duty coupling systems designed for the worst storms on Earth. "This is Rescue 1 to all ships," John broadcast. "Sound off for final checks." One by one, each human and alien ship reported ready. The particle cloud loomed behind them, growing larger by the minute. "All engines, 5% power," John ordered. "Let's take up the slack slowly." The 20 human tugs fired their chemical rockets together. The massive chain of ships groaned and creaked as the slack was taken up, the force rippling down the line like a wave. 10% power, John called. "Steady." Through his viewport, he could see the other rescue tugs, their engines glowing bright orange against the darkness of space. Behind them stretched the chain of alien ships, their silver hulls reflecting the engine light. "Structural stress at 60% of maximum," Mary reported. "The distribution system is holding." 15% power, John ordered. The entire fleet began to move as one massive unit. 20%. Suddenly, Tom shouted from his station. The cloud's acceleration is increasing. It's going to catch us. John looked at his engine gauges. They were already pushing the chemical rockets to their limit, but they needed more speed. All ships, he broadcast, his voice steady. Prepare for emergency thrust. We're going to give it everything we've got. The fate of 50,000 alien lives now hung on humanity's oldest and simplest space technology, and their determination to make it work. All ships, maximum thrust. Now, Captain John Reed's voice boomed through the communication system as 20 human rescue tugs pushed their chemical rockets to their absolute limits. The engines blazed bright orange against the black of space, their combined thrust creating a spectacular light show. The massive chain of ships, 27 alien vessels linked together behind the human rescue fleet, groaned under the strain. Halt stress at 85% of maximum. Mary shouted from her engineering station. The pressure distribution system is barely holding. Through the viewport, John could see the particle cloud gaining on them. Its ethereal purple glow would have been beautiful if it wasn't so deadly. The cloud that had disabled the alien fleet's advanced technology was now chasing them like a hungry predator. The chain is starting to flex. Tom reported from his sensors. The middle section is bending. Commander Val's voice came through, calm but urgent. Captain Reed, our hull integrity is approaching critical levels. If we break apart at this speed. John made a quick decision. All ships, cut power to 50%. The sudden reduction in thrust sent a shockwave through the chain of ships. John watched anxiously as the massive line of vessels rippled like a snake in space, but held together. The chain is stabilizing, Mary reported. But sir, the cloud is still gaining. That's when John remembered something from his early days of space tug piloting. Tom, what's the cloud's expansion pattern? Tom quickly checked his readings. It's expanding in a sphere, sir. Equal rate in all directions. Just like a pressure wave, John muttered. Then louder, all ships prepare for a slingshot maneuver. Mary's eyes widened. A slingshot? With this many ships? We can't outrun the cloud, John explained quickly, but we can go around it. If we curve our trajectory, use the cloud's gravity. Commander Val interrupted. Captain, our ships were never designed for such a maneuver. Neither were Earth's first spacecraft, John replied. But we learned to use gravity to our advantage. Trust us, Commander. This is what humans do best. We adapt. The next few minutes were intense as John directed the fleet in a carefully calculated arc. The chain of ships began to curve, using the particle cloud's own gravitational pull to help them change direction. All ships, gradual power increase, John ordered. Let physics do the work. The human rescue tugs adjusted their thrust perfectly, working together like a well-oiled machine. The massive chain of alien ships followed the curve, guided by the simple but effective human technology. It's working, Tom shouted. We're starting to swing around the cloud's edge. The maneuver was beautiful to watch. The entire fleet, nearly 50 miles of connected ships, swung in a graceful arc through space. The particle cloud's expansion continued but missed them by a narrowing margin. Final thrust, John commanded. Get us clear. The human tugs fired their rockets one last time, pulling the chain of ships away from the cloud's reach. As they cleared the danger zone, cheers erupted across all frequencies, human and alien voices mixing in celebration. Remarkable, Commander Val said, genuine awe in their voice. Your species turned the cloud's own properties against it, using simple physics instead of complex technology. We would have never considered such a solution. Hours later, with all ships safely away from the particle cloud, the fleet began the process of disconnecting. The alien vessels, their quantum drives now functional again in clear space, hummed back to life. Commander Val addressed the entire human rescue fleet. When we sent our distress call to Earth, We chose you because we thought your primitive chemical rockets might help. We never imagined you would teach us so much more. Your ability to adapt, to use simple solutions for complex problems, to trust in basic physics. These are traits our civilization had forgotten in our pursuit of advanced technology. John smiled. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Commander. We learned that on Earth a long time ago. As the alien fleet prepared to depart, they left humanity with a gift. Knowledge that would help Earth advance into the galactic community. But more importantly, they spread word throughout the galaxy about the species that had saved them. Humans became known not for having the most advanced technology, but for having something far more valuable: the wisdom to know that sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. And in the vast, complex galaxy, that was perhaps the most advanced thinking of all.